and welcome along to the latest edition of the SBK Betting Podcast with Tom Collins and Ross Millar. We're coming in off the back of an exceptionally exciting and eventful and dramatic weekend with the Fighting Fifth and the Coral Gold Cup being the two featured events. The Fighting Fifth has been talked about lots, so we're not going to necessarily use the top half of this show to discuss what happened there. If you do want to know Ross's opinion, go and watch Miller's Movers. It's available on this channel, the SBK YouTube channel. Go and click that podcast and you'll be able to see what Ross thinks of the event. My opinions were all posted on social media last Saturday, so I'm not going to go back into it, but it was a very dramatic contest. The Coral Gold Cup was equally dramatic, but I suppose not for the same reasons. More that Panic Attack just proved that she stayed the trip, and she provided Dan Skelton with yet another big race victory this season. Right, let's move swiftly onto this weekend's action. That's what you guys have tuned in for, so that's what we'll provide. Sandown and Aintree are the two tracks to focus on this weekend. We've got the Tingle Creek at Sandown and the Becher Chase at Aintree. Those two races will feature in our three race previews that we'll discuss before moving on to our best bets from elsewhere. We'll start with the Henry VIII Novices Chase, however. That is run at Sandown on the undercard at 1:50 p.m. This race often features a small field, and it has done again this year with just 4 runners. But it's a good field. It's not just a poxy small race field, where you're looking and thinking, well, this is no bet race. We're not going to see anything good coming out of this. We're going to see some nice horses here. Your favourite is Lulamba. He is currently 8-11. Be Aware is 4-1. He came second in an Arkle trial at Cheltenham last time. He is joint second favourite with Lump Sum, who won at Uttoxeter over fences last time up. And then the outside of the field is Al Nalam, who is 2 from 2, chasing so far at around 8-1. Ross, good race to start with, small field as we say, with an odds-on favourite. Do you think this is just Lulamba's race to lose? Will you be punting Lulamba? Or do you just think there's another horse in here that actually will challenge Nicky Henderson's charge?
I like Lulamba. I think he's a really nice horse, but I'm not sure he's an out-and-out 2-miler. He jumped well enough at Extra on his debut. He was a bit slow at a couple. He jumped a couple a bit big. I think that was exaggerated because that was the same day that Copec de Board made his debut, because that had been put back from the Saturday to the Monday, and he was really low and really slick and looked really pacey. Lulamba looked a bit more like a novice that was learning. Gets a very valuable £4-year-old allowance, which is now down to £6. It sort of tapers off through the season. It was £8 in November. It's now £6. That's not to be dismissed easily. But he is going to have to jump better, because you can be certain that Al Nalam is going to go forward, as he did when winning at Cheltenham. So is Be Aware. This will be a Skelton attack, particularly down over the railway fences. And the railway fences come up quite quickly, normally on about 13 or 14 strides. If you miss the first one, the fact they're on those fairly quick turnarounds, it means you're very likely to not get particularly flying at the second and the third. That's where certainly Harry Skelton's going to attack, probably Sean Bowen as well. If Lulamba gets on the back foot there, that can take the race away from him. I think if he's in contention jumping the pond fence, he's going to win this, because he's going to come home really strongly. But the horse in here, I think, has got the most versatility is Lump Sum. He jumped really well on Chase debut at Uttoxeter, which isn't an easy track to jump around, undulating, and the fences are big enough. Beat Jax Jr. by 16 lengths. He's come out and won since. He's now rated 139. He looked really good when he won, and he won a novice chase, so it wasn't as if they're sort of, protecting first time out to win a handicap second time out. I think that's really good form. And if you just look at some of Lump Sum's hurdle form, it's not that far off, I don't think, in achievement with Lulamba. He was second in the Fighting Fifth behind Sergino. He was then second in the Betfair or the William Hill or the Schweppes or whatever it is this time around, off top weight. I thought he ran a massive race. His form tailed off in the spring, but so did Sam Thomas's form. I think he's a really smart horse. He jumped well. And Sam Thomas also had Steel Ally in here as well. And if he'd have run him, I'd have been keen on him as well. So the fact that he's had the two and he's chosen for this one, I think, is a feather in his cap. And it was just slightly a price thing. Lulamba's odds on. Lump Sum is around about 3-172. Did you say? I think that's a very fair price for a horse that's talented in a race that I don't think you can readily dismiss any of them.
Yeah, you can currently get 4-1 on Lump Sum, so slightly bigger than that. But yeah, I get your point. It's not a race where Lulamba is necessarily a penalty kick as such, but he definitely has the most upside. And as you mentioned, he crucially does get that 4-year-old allowance. Lump Sum's a very good horse in his own right, though. And Sam Thomas has had a couple of nice winners over the last 2 weeks. He has a very good stable of young horses. And actually, Katati Dori ran really well for him in the Coral Gold Cup last Saturday, but was just hampered by what happened with that standing start. Not going to go into that. That was an absolute shambles. My opinion here is that Lulamba is way the horse to beat. I think 8-11 is very fair. As I say, it's no penalty kick, but he has the most upside. And for that reason, I found it hard to necessarily take him on. If he was 4-7, 1-2, then I would be looking to oppose him with either Be Aware or Lump Sum. I think they're very much the same horse right now in their progression. But at 8-11, Lamba has to be the play. And to be honest, I just want him to go and win, to give Nicky Henderson a new young horse to go to war with. We're still waiting to see Sergino. Obviously, we know what happened to Constitution Hill, and his days are probably numbered right now, especially at the top level over hurdles. So, maybe Lulamba can be this new charge that Nicky Henderson can go to war with over the next few years. Right, we're going to stick to Sandown then and go to the feature race, which is the Grade 1 Tingle Creek. That's going to be run at 3 p.m. SBK has a 20% winnings boost on this race. However, you do need to opt in to qualify. So make sure you go on the app, look in the promotion section, opt in for this winnings boost if you like something in the Tingle Creek and you want to bet with SBK. Obviously, this is a fantastic race with a rich heritage. 6 favourites have actually won it in the last 10 years, so it's gone the way of the market as well recently. Quality horses in this year's edition. There's a big talking point here, and that is the market. The favourite is Ilete Tom, who is currently the 10-11 favourite. Very skinny, I thought, for trainer Willie Mullins. Look, he's unbeaten in his last 4, and he won the Celebration Chase here last year. But 10-11, skinny. Then you have Schlur Chase winner Lur de Sud. He is around 11-4 for Dan and Harry Skelton. Comes in off the back of a nice victory at Cheltenham. Third in is Jonbon, 4-1. Now, Ross, this is obviously the main talking point. I think he is excellent value, and I'll give my reasoning after you tell everyone who you like in this race. But when I saw the entries for this, I thought, well, Jonbon will go to the Peterborough Chase because he's also entered in that, I think it's this Sunday. And then I saw he was declared, and he stayed at 4-1. What's going on?
Yeah, I couldn't make head nor tail of this. I thought early doors my selection would be Ilete Tom because he'll be second fav to beat Jonbon, who'll be fav. It is strange, isn't it? I wonder how much of it is Constitution Hill falling as well, to be honest. And sort of people do like to lump these horses together into a theme. I mean, when I looked earlier, Ilete Tom was at 8-11. That's the sort of price that I want to be taking about a Dan Skelton trained novice hurdler that's already won one. He's carrying a penalty over 2 miles. 2 of them that are running are debutants that have won 3 miles on pedigree, and the other 3 have all had 2 runs already and been out with the washing, and they're having a third bob round for a handicap mark, and you just know that you're barring problems, you're going to collect. That's not the case with this. I'm not saying Elizabeth won't win. He's very talented, but I think he's arguably better in the spring. Yes, he looked good on his reappearance. Lur de Sud, I will be staggered if he is able to confirm form with Jonbon round Sandown, because he was awful at Sandown last year in the Henry VIII. Like, he fell over the line in a really weak race in similar conditions in a race that should have suited. For sure, he might just have improved again, but I often think I'd much rather look and think, what's the outlier in the form? And the Schlur Chase, if you take it literally, is the outlier in this horse's form. If he's improved, he has improved an absolute ton through the summer. I don't see why he would. Jonbon was awful at Cheltenham. You'll say it's a Cheltenham factor. I'm not quite so convinced. But on the balance of form, whether he doesn't like Cheltenham or not, Sandown is the track where he's delivered all of his best form. He'd had wind surgery through the summer. He just looked ponderous and slow, and people are saying he's forgotten how to jump. He hasn't forgotten how to jump. He made a couple of mistakes, and he was up against a very good ride by Harry Skelton, who exploited what they felt were going to be the weaknesses at exactly the right time, in exactly the right way. Nico de Boinville looked after him. He wasn't going to beat Matata. Well, if he's fallen off the cliff that much, they'll know that, and they'll have gone to the Peterborough for certain. I just don't think you can say with any conviction that he's lost his pace for 2 miles. After this, you might be able to. But the fact that I can take 4-1 and find out, I'm very happily at 4-1 to be wrong. I would be absolutely mortified if I backed the Ilete Tom at 10-11. It turned out he wasn't the best horse in the race.
Yeah, I mean, punting's all about value. Like, people will say, just give me winners. We're just here to back winners. Yes, but that comes from value. If you're just here to put money on who you think is going to win, you're going to be betting most of the favourites because they are the most logical plays, and you're going to lose out long run because you're going to be taking terrible prices, and in the long term, probability will play against you and go towards the bookmakers. So you have to go value. The value in here is not an opinionated value. It is a very obvious, the value is Jonbon. There is no other decision here. Now, maybe Ilete Tom will go and win, as Ross said. He is the horse that comes into the race with an unblemished, relatively, profile over the last couple of years. He's beaten Jonbon in the past and he goes for Willie Mullins. Maybe he'll go and win again, but he is not a good price. Jonbon, on the other hand, is an excellent price. You're telling me that this horse has a 20% chance of winning at 4-1? No, rubbish. He's won 18 of his 24 starts. He's finished second on the other 6 occasions. He's won this race for the last 2 years. He's only been beaten once away from Cheltenham, and that came in the Celebration Chase behind Il Était Temps. He's a 10-time Grade 1 winner, and people are writing him off because of one bad run in the Schlur. I don't know about that. He didn't jump well. I don't like him at Cheltenham, as mentioned many times on the pod, and as Ross alluded to, that would be my opinion. It is. I don't think he handles Cheltenham very well. I don't think he jumps around Cheltenham. Sandown is a completely different ball game. Yes, he may not win, but at the prices, 4-1 Jonbon is probably the best value bet across all races, I would say, in the UK on Saturday. So we'll see how he gets on. Hopefully he...
We should just say, TC, as well, that the Celebration Chase he was beaten in, he went Cheltenham, Aintree, and Sandown. He'd won it the year before, but he missed out at Cheltenham. And at Cheltenham, okay, he was beaten, but he ran a massive race in terms of, what would you call it, VO2 max. I mean, he must have just burst his lungs to get as close as he did, having made the mistake he made. So I can happily put a line for that Sandown run at the back end of last year for certain.
Yeah, me too. Il Était Temps was a fresh horse. Jonbon was not. So, yeah, 4-1. As I say, 20% chance of winning that equals in terms of probability. He has way higher than that. I don't see him going off 4-1. He should be clear second choice, if not vying for favouritism. So, Jonbon for both myself and Ross, mainly from a value perspective, but also because he is a fantastic horse and hopefully he can rejuvenate his career and get back on track after a disappointing display at Cheltenham on the reappearance. Right, over to Aintree then for the Becher Chase. Back over the Grand National fences. SBK also has a 20% winnings boost on this contest. Again, opt-in is required if you want to take advantage of that boost, but just do like you were going to do with the Tingle Creek. Go on the app, check out promotions, opt in, and then you will get that 20% winnings boost if you can find the winner and bet it with SBK. 2:40 p.m. this race, 3 mile, 2 furlongs, only 13 runners. I thought that was very disappointing, Ross, but it is 5-1 the field with Mr. Vango heading the market. He hasn't run for a while. Who do you like?
I like Mr. Vango, but is the ground going to be soft enough? And he's got a massive weight, isn't he? He's a big horse, so he'll carry the weight, but just a bit top weight in a big competitive handicap like this. I'd like to see him win it, but I didn't want to punt him at that sort of price. I thought it was competitive. I've come back to one, and this is one that I'm going to punt, because if I'm right, I think we'll get paid well. It's White Rhino. He last ran in the Grand Sefton Waivers selection. I think I probably expended more energy watching the race than he did through the race. He got hampered quite early on. And at that point, Sean Bowen sat up, cantered around, popped them over the fences. He seemed to cope with them perfectly well. And he got £4 back from the handicapper. It's one of those runs, and obviously I look at the handicap marks a lot, where you wouldn't have been surprised if the handicapper just said, no, sorry, I'm just disregarding that because it never happened for you, so I can't judge it. And he gave him £4 back. He won a handicap at Haydock last year off a mark of 133, and he won it doing handstands. It was on soft ground, over 2 mile, 5 furlongs. He absolutely sluiced up. If you'd have said to me then you could back him off 137 a year later, I'd have been all over him. He did bleed at Doncaster on his final start of the year, which is a concern. And of course, at Aintree, he didn't have to go into the red, so you're not going to know whether that's going to be a reoccurring injury, but or a reoccurring problem, not injury. He jumped round the fence. He had a nice sighter. Clearly, the feedback from Sean Bowen can't have been these fences didn't suit him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be running here. There's loads of handicap chase he could run in this weekend. The Green and Guerrero team do a good job at Aintree. I think he's got outstanding chance, and he's not anywhere near favourite. I think if he gets a run and he doesn't bleed, I think he's just way too well handicapped for anything in this race to cope with him.
Interesting. White Rhino. I'm going to slightly contradict it, but throw back to you here. He's currently 15-2. I think that's a fair price. And actually, when it comes to profile, I agree with you. He was the first horse I looked at. He was the horse that really jumped out to me. But I did I wrote an expert analysis column for At the Races a couple of weeks back after that run, his reappearance run. And I had a look at lengths gained jumping. And yes, he looked like visually, as we were watching the race, he jumped okay. But he had the worst lengths gained jumping in the field. He lost around 17 lengths over his obstacles. I'm not so sure he likes these national fences. Are you willing to overlook that? Or do you just think it was maybe a one-off on the reappearance?
Because we all know you can put your data down the toilet. But also, It was a great line. But also, length gained is largely relevant to pace you're attacking fences at, because it's effectively how far out you land and how quickly you get back into your stride. He was cantering and bobbing round, so I would. I don't pay any attention to jump data. I do pay a little bit of attention to some data. Jump data, I'm just not interested in because it doesn't factor in whether they go left or right and all that sort of stuff, which is far more important to me. Particularly with White Rhino and that run at Aintree, I think you can disregard it completely.
Okay, cool. We'll see what we get from White Rhino this weekend. As I say, I did look at him, but that data kind of just put me off. But look, next time, let's say he doesn't perform over the national fences again. Next time up, I'm definitely interested in because I agree with you. I think he's well handicapped, and providing he doesn't bleed, he has a good chance in a race of this quality, maybe over the normal fences. But we'll see how he gets on. I'm not going to have a bet in the race this year. I was maybe taken by Bioluminescence the most. So she's going to be the token selection for the podcast, but I don't necessarily love this race from a punting perspective. She has the most upside. She remains unexposed. She represents leading connections in Gavin Cromwell and JP McManus, and she should improve going back up in trip after what I would say was a fair reappearance run behind a good one in Spindlebury for Willie Mullins. So Bioluminescence was interesting, but she's not been missed in the market. She is around 8-1, probably on form. She should be double that price, but we know that she has the upside to go and maybe go close for these connections. Right then, they're the three feature races covered, Ross. Best bets from elsewhere. Where are you going to go?
So first is the NAP, comes in 12:58 at Aintree, the Nick Kent trained Inady Star. Well, I've got a little bit of history with that. This horse has been well handicapped for a while, has possibly just bumped into one, but has run really consistently, being second and third last three starts, and the handicapper unusually hasn't punished him for that. He stays on a mark of 129. He was third in the Red Run Chase behind Sound Brew, over 2 miles, staying on in really nice fashion. Backed up quite quickly and went to Sandown, was ridden as if he was trying to get the trip over 2 mile 4. Again, did some really nice late work closing in, and then returned in October, 2 mile 4, beaten 7 lengths by Thistle Ask of Dan Skelton's, and was giving that horse £6. That horse got on to win the Holman Gold Cup. It's now rated 144. That's an outstanding piece of form, and it proves once again that he gets this trip. He's run really well at Aintree. The twice he's gone there. He was third of 3 on his other start, but he was 1.5 lengths behind Doyen de Bar, giving that horse £7. Doyen de Bar's now rated 132. He likes this track. I'm certain this trip is going to bring out the best in him. I thought he had really good credentials in the 12:58. And then the next best comes in the 12:43, just arose for Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden. This is at Sandown, I should say. She was pulled up in the Mayor's Novice at Cheltenham last time, but prior to that, she absolutely dotted up at Taunton in a maiden hurdle on her debut. The second is rated 111. The fourth is rated 110. She beat them by about 26 lengths and 36 lengths, pulling a cart. She didn't need to be asked any sort of question. The handicap has given her a mark effectively off one run, given her a mark of 122. At best, he's having to really guess what level of ability she's got. And I was taken by the fact that, listening to trainers is a dangerous thing, as we know, because they all like giving sound bites. But heading into Cheltenham, both Harry Cobden and Paul Nicholls were sort of very much of the opinion that the two runners they had in that Mayor's Novice, the other one which was Jubilee Alpha, there wasn't an awful lot between them. Jubilee Alpha should have won for you back at Wincanton, I think it was, wasn't it? She's rated 141. Well, if they thought there was an awful lot between them, the handicapper thinks there's £9 or £20 between them. She's just too well handicapped to ignore. She's had wind surgery. She's going to have to bounce back a little bit first time out. Paul Nicholls kind of wobbling along, not flying along, but I don't think she'll be a skinny price, and I think she might just be a very good mare indeed.
Ross's Nap and Next Best both go early on Saturday. Inady Star goes in the 12:58 at Aintree, and Just Arose, the next best, in the 12:43 at Sandown. I'm going to go late in the day for my two. It's just worked out like this. My nap is going to be O'Connell, who goes in the 3:35 at Sandown, the London National. Stamina sapping trips is what this horse wants, and last year he flew up the ranks with several victories, but also loads of consistent placed efforts for his training combination. He's a course winner. He should strip fitter for his reappearance run, where he was exceptionally eye-catching. Held up, made a late run under hands and heels, and looked like there was plenty more to give. And I don't think this race is that good for a London National. It's featured better horses in the past. It's been way more competitive in terms of quantity as well as quality in the past. So this looks like a good spot for O'Connell. He has already been punted, and we're filming this at 2 p.m. on Thursday. He was 5-1, and now he's into 11-4. So hopefully that price holds by the time you're watching this, and by the time Saturday comes around, so I can give it out on ITV. But I do think he's definitely the horse to beat in the London National, and he will be my nap. My next best goes in the 3:15 Aintree, and that is Rubber Bull. This horse is about 7-1. It wouldn't surprise me if he actually drifted up to nearer 10-1 by the time of the off. So right now, I won't be betting him, but hopefully I'll get a better price maybe Saturday morning. There are lots of horses in this race, in my opinion, that are using it as preps for future conquests. If you go down the race card, you can probably work it out yourself, judged by some of the trainers, judged by some recent form figures, and maybe future targets for these types, especially those towards the top of the handicap. I don't think that's the case with Rubber Bull. And last year, this horse beat the likes of Tutti Quanti and Kientzheim. Two nice horses. Tutti Quanti won a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, and looked really good in doing so. He also wasn't far behind George's Lad, trained by Emma Lavelle, who progressed last season, looks a nice horse, as well as Marchand too, who he finished third behind. So he has some good form. Now, his Greatwood run on the reappearance was terrible. He was beaten a mile. However, he likes flat tracks. Cheltenham is not that. He also doesn't like testing ground. And the Sunday at that November meeting, the ground had gone. So I'm putting a line through that for Rubber Bull. Maybe he can get back to form at Aintree. He's a nice price, and he's a horse who's probably going to be trying to win, whereas some of the others in the race, that might not be the case for. Okay, thank you very much for watching this podcast. Please do like the video below if you enjoyed it. Also, make sure you subscribe to SBK. Go check out Miller's Movers after this video to hear what Ross said about the Fighting Fifth and plenty of other races. That's a great podcast that you can watch weekly, obviously run by Ross, maybe with special guests from time to time. And also share this podcast with your friends so they can also join in, and we can all celebrate if we have a winner or two. A reminder that SBK has a 20% winnings boost on both the Tingle Creek and the Becher Chase this Saturday. You have to opt in to both races to qualify for that winnings boost. Don't just expect the winnings boost if you haven't opted in. It's really annoying when that happens. So make sure you opt in first, and then you will get the winnings boost. And if you don't have an SBK account at the moment and you want to take advantage of those winnings boosts, you can just create an SBK account right now, bet your first £10, and you'll get £50 in free bets. T's and C's do apply just for new customers there. But you can just double up with all of these offers that are currently being promoted by SBK. Thank you very much again for watching this podcast. Have a great weekend. Hopefully you punt plenty of winners. We'll see you again next Thursday. Goodbye.